Welcome back to F1 2017 here, guys. It is round number 4 of Season 2, the Russian Grand Prix, 27 laps around the Sochi Autodrome. And we're coming off a few decent results over the past few races. You can see it here. I'm just having a little look to sort of see where we can look to go with the engine development. We've got the major one in progress. We're only at about, well, it says they're 287 resource points, and the major one costs us 1,800 and is going to take 6 weeks to, it says 6 weeks, but, you know, six races, quote unquote, is how long that's going to take. So I was just having a quick review of the standings, and you can see there that this is going to come at Canada. So let's try and continue the way that we've been going. Now, Bahrain wasn't the best race for us. We did obviously only score the singular point, coming in 10th, but we had some decent results in Australia and in China. So let's hope to get back on form around Russia. It's a circuit I do okay around. You know, it's pretty one-dimensional in its structure. It only has sort of one stop for the race. You know, it does next to no wear on the tyres, but I like some of its flowing corners. A lot of its 90-degree corners are a bit sort of bland, a bit boring. I do struggle on corner exit a lot around here, but I just figured I'd get these nice cinematic shots of while I was doing some of the practice programs, because it is, you know, even though it's a quote-unquote street circuit, it's quite flowing and quite enjoyable with an average lap speed of over 130 miles an hour, as David Croft will tell you. But yeah, you know, let's see what we can do this weekend. I'm feeling confident, and not only with the extra power upgrades coming to the car, we need to see how we're going to do, and sort of see where we're going to progress with the car. We're currently 5th in the Drivers' Championship, I believe. Again, I'm not 100% sure. It's been about a week or two since I've actually commentated a video and watched any of my actual content to bring it up to speed.
Welcome back to Sochi. We're about to be joining the action down in the pit lane as the cars get ready to embark on their qualifying runs. And as we wait, poised for the start of what will hopefully be a thrilling qualifying, why don't you tell us, Anthony Davidson, about the things you can do to really get the most out of a car in a session like this?
Well, you're largely limited by the Parc Fermé regulations, of course. Back in the old days, pre-2004, you'd work on both a qualifying setup and a race setup over practice, and then swap them over after qualifying. So the race car was quite different at times to the qualifying car. Nowadays, though, you have to find a compromise that works for both. There are a few things that you can still adjust during the session, such as the differential, the brake bias, and the front wing angle, but that's about it. So it's more about optimizing what you do have and adapting your own style to suit the track conditions.
Anthony Davidson with his nuggets of wisdom just there about Formula 1. But here we go, on to our first banker lap here in qualifying. We charge through turn 1. It's just a kink, really. I consider the first corner still to be coming up as we break the 200 miles an hour. 200 miles an hour. Don't know what I'm trying to say. You can tell why I'm not prepared for this as we go through that turn 1, through the sweeping long turn, again, turn 4 or turn 3. I don't know. Russia's weird with its number of corners. You've got the actual number of corners, and you know what people believe to be the number of corners. But we go through the first sector. It's 30.1. I got completely unsighted by the glare directly in my eyes. I sort of turned in where I thought the corner was, and it turns out I turned in a little bit too early. So I did, you know, scrub off a bit of speed, then ran wide on the runoff areas, which is very easy to do around here, just because they're so inviting. You know, the little runoff areas, they sit there and go, you know, just give it an extra 5 miles an hour, and then before you know it, you're exceeding track limits. But here we are on the back straight, DRS wide open. Perez currently fastest, won the Force Indias. They're sort of where we're trying to aim to be, because they're just above the midfield. Of course, technically on the car comparison sheet, we are the back of the midfield, but of course we can drag more out of the car than the AI can. We're 3/10 down on Perez on this opening banker lap as Verstappen now goes fastest. We go through the chicane. Car feels very off balance as it goes through that little crest there. Down the short hill once again, then into the double 90-degree right hand as the final sector. There's the first one. Through the seconds on the power, nice and early. Bring it in, kept it tucked in tight. Slower than Perez, faster than Kvyat. Puts us 4th provisionally, but that was very early in the session. And then when we came back into the pits, we're about a 1/10 and a half off Fernando, 0.16 of a second just there. And obviously we want to try and beat Fernando. Looking at it there, we are very even in the first, very even in the middle sector, only a thousandth different. But we're a little bit down in the first and dropping quite a bit to him, like over a tenth and a half in the final sector. So that's where we need to make up our time in comparison to our teammate, who of course is going to be our best mark of competition. So here we go, second lap with just over a minute and 10 to go. Much better exit off the final corner. Engine starting to show its first signs of wear in this season. This is of course the first parts as we come to the end of first sector now. We're 2 tenths up on our lap time. We made the exact same mistake with the right hander. We didn't go in as tight though, so we were able to straighten the car up a little bit more. Coming across to the second sector, we're nearly 7 tenths up on our lap time now as we go very deep into the chicane, just about bring the car around. I was quite amazed that we managed to actually get it slowed down, but here we go up to the chicane, braking hard, get it in nice and tight, taking a big chunk of curb, but getting the car straightened out nicely for the final part of the chicane. Nearly put it in the wall and knocked off a bit of front wing, and just after the 100-meter board, brake, attack harder in these corners. Can we get a better exit off this second right hander? We've run it wide on the power early, lost a bit of time, crossed the line. Where's it going to be? P8 for the Russian Grand Prix. Top 10 for the first. I honestly can't even tell you if that's first time this season, but we've out-qualified Fernando by over half a second. So we are in P8, behind of course the Ferraris and the Red Bulls and the Mercedes. But there's a Force India then splitting the McLarens, which is nice to see. Then we get down to our likes of Toro Rosso, Williams, Haas, Renault, all the back of the midfield there. But breaking the 135 barrier was quite just, I don't know, I felt pretty good after it, thinking like, yeah, this puts me in a good position. So this is what I was talking about, the Russian Grand Prix. Nothing too special, considering we started on, or considering we qualified in the top 10, we need to start on ultra soft tyres, and then it's a one-stop strategy to supers at the end. I'm pretty sure if we put the soft tyres on, we could do about 50 laps, 60 laps around this circuit. You know, there is, tyre wear isn't an issue around here, as it were, so we need to be knuckling down, focusing on how we're going to make... Can we try and move up the field? It's going to be difficult from the position that we're in, you know, because the Mercedes, the Ferraris and the Force Indias, the Red Bulls, and to an extent the Force India, are a little bit out of our league. You know, we've got Perez just ahead of us there. Can we, like, try and get past him into turn one? It's not so much turn one. We can usually make a good few places on the opening lap. It's more how we consolidate them and keep them in the Grand Prix, and of course we do have to try and do that over 27 laps around the Sochi Autodrome. But now we're going to line up, and it's the calm before the storm as we are now in position, wait for the lights for Season 2, the 2018 Russian Grand Prix. They're building 5 lights. Lights are out and away we go for Russia. Perez gets an absolutely fantastic launch off the line. Bottas bogged down a bit. Verstappen pulls alongside the AI. Can sometimes make mistakes going through there and cause a monumental crash. It hasn't happened this time. We pull alongside Ricciardo in the slipstream of Verstappen. Brave on the brakes. What can we do into turn one? Perez locked up. We've made contact with one of the Ferraris with our side pod banging into his wheels. We're up into 4th place as we now battle Kimi Räikkönen through the long left-hander. We've gone out wide. Raikkonen tucks to the inside. We're going to move to the inside of the next corner. Push Kimi out wide. Make sure he can't get us on the exit. And that is us up into 4th place. We've gained 4 positions already for the Russian Grand Prix. And thankfully, it's overcast here in the race. So it means I'm not going to be making any mistakes into the braking zones. But now, beginning of lap 2, we've kept with Verstappen. But Raikkonen is on the moves. He tries to go. He's already technically down the inside of the first corner. We now have to see what can we do into turn 1. Raikkonen hasn't pulled that far ahead. We're going to try and go round the outside if we can. We've had to go wide though, and that's Kimi ahead of us. We've now got Perez on our outside of the long left-hander. He's behind Raikkonen. Must be getting loads of dirty air behind the Ferrari. What can we do? Round the outside. Can we keep the position? Raikkonen's parked it on the apex. We've had to go out wide, and that's allowed Raikkonen back through. I don't think even if we had passed him, we would have actually kept the position. That would have technically been an illegal overtake, and we would have needed to have given that back. Perez battling hard. Yellow flag briefly behind us. I think someone had an engine failure. I can't remember exactly, and I don't appear to have any footage of it at this exact moment. But now, as Raikkonen gets away, Perez going to attack us down the back straight. He moves ahead of us, that Mercedes engine. He moves into 5th. We get a tiny amount of slipstream if we can, and down the inside into the braking zone. Make sure Perez can't turn in. That pushes him out wide. He does then get the inside line, and he slides into us there on the exit, but we're able to hold it around the outside and retain 5th position as we have to wrestle the car over that crest, as it just gets really unsettled. And if you crank up the ride height too much around here, then you're going to lose time in other areas. So you're better off losing it in that one particular spot rather than across the whole lap. But Raikkonen pulls a 1.6 gap over us. Perez going to keep attacking as we start into lap 3. We're sort of moving about a little bit. We're going to defend to the inside this time around. Perez hasn't gained as much as I expected. We squeeze him against the wall a little bit, make it so he can't turn in. That's us defending successfully against Perez and keeping 5th place once again. Like I said, this is a matter of us now. We've got some extra positions. We've upped from our grid slot. Can we continue to defend and build on it over the course of the race as we run wide? That gives Perez an excellent run up into the next corner at the start of Sector 2. What's he going to do down the inside? Can we hold it around the outside? On the exit, we haven't had the best run. Perez is still there on our inside. And can he look to get us in this right-hander? No, very argy-bargy. Both of us the hand up in frustration as Perez was very slow on the inside. We go back down the inside now of that left-hander just before the 3rd sector. And that's Perez back down to 6th. Us continuing to defend 5th position. It's pretty hardy scrap between myself and the Force India. We did get a notification during that period of Alonso having some issues, but you can hear there in 3 laps we've already lost 9.2 seconds to the race leader as Perez once again has a go at us as we're now fighting him tooth and nail for this 5th position. We're going to try and get the slipstream as much as we can into turn 1. Perez with a huge lockup. We try and give him all the space we can. We look behind. Perez makes contact and he's gone round, and that's caused a mighty pile up into turn 1 as we now look at it on board with the Mexican. Look at the huge lockup from him. He tries to turn, doesn't get any response from the car and just goes straight into us. We tried to give him as much room as possible. It's not even like I tried to turn into the apex, because I'd of course have gone straight into him there. Look at it. We keep going straight, keep going straight, keep going. I left the steering as open as I could without me having to go straight on, basically. Clearly the stewards didn't see any kind of issue with what we did, but as we cut back on board, there's now a safety car for what has happened there into turn 1 on lap 4. So we now chuck it into lean to save fuel. Perez, of course, has dropped down the order. I feel, honestly, an unfortunate racing incident. I don't feel I did anything too aggressive there, because if I had continued to try and... if I'd turned in, I'd have hit Perez. If I'd gone straight on, it would have wrecked my own race. You can see there I've asked to actually come into the pits. As you see, Perez is actually retired, so I don't know what kind of damage he took from our incident, but he is now out of the race. But we're going to box at the end of lap 4. I figured, you know, the ultra softs only go to like lap 10. So with the safety car, that's going to extend it to maybe like lap 13. Then we're going to go on supers anyway. And the super soft tyres can do a lot more than the 17 laps that the game was telling us they could do. So we're going to come in. We've got, of course, a couple of laps behind the safety car. So that's going to allow us to extend the tyres. I think all in all, we're probably going to have to do about 19 or 20 racing laps on them. But I just figure it makes sense to pit now. While we're going to try and gain some kind of benefit on it. You see a couple of other cars are in. Sainz comes in. He fits the actual soft tyre. So whether maybe he's concerned about his tyre life at the end of the race. Grosjean pits their line in as well. So a few of the back markers looking to get an opportunity early on. I can't really blame them. You know, roll the dice a little bit. Get some points on the board. You never know what's going to turn out in this race. But we are, of course, on the super soft tyre, and that's going to be carrying us to the end of the Grand Prix. So now, end of lap 6, the safety car was out for a lap less than I expected it to be, and now that means we're going to have to put a bit more weight on the tyres. You can see 2 laps of fuel remaining, or an extra 2 laps of fuel that we've got in the tank. We put it into rich now, so I'm not caught napping on the restart as we're being backed up tremendously by whoever the lead driver is. We gain a lot on Ericsson, and we're trying to pull alongside. We actually get caught a little bit napping on the green flag. I was easing off so as to not overtake him when the green flag dropped. But now we're going to pull right up behind him because, of course, Ericsson is in a Sauber, the slowest car on the grid. We pull up out of the final corner. Green flag racing as we now head towards the first corner and the actual main overtaking opportunity. Apparently we're only 2.1 behind Alonso, who I believe is still carrying some kind of issue in the slipstream of Marcus Ericsson. Is he going to go defensive? He thinks about it for a brief second and then nope. So we'll stick that down the inside of the Sauber. That's us up into 13th place. And with the field all bunched up and our tyres nice and fresh, let's see if we can make any kind of moves through the field, as the next car up ahead of us is Danny Kvyat in the Toro Rosso. You see Alonso is backing up the field. He's in 9th, and look at all the cars just spread out. They're all trying to get around Fernando as we go into the second sector. Stroll's down his inside, forces him out. Alonso down to 10th. Stroll into 9th. What can we do as we go through this sector? Can we find a way past Danny Kvyat? Yes, we can. He put himself to the outside, left the door open. That's us down the inside. Alonso was lost out to Kevin Magnussen now. So Alonso now, unfortunately, out of the points. He's struggling in that McLaren. He always seems to do well in qualifying, but in the race he has no pace whatsoever as we go down the inside of him, put him down to 12th place, and that is Fernando dropping down the field like a stone off a tall building, just plummeting. He's got his own montage of misery going on that we had from Season 1. But we are now looking at the back of the Haas of Kevin Magnussen. More importantly, we're looking at the back of a points-paying position. And then we've got Massa and Stroll just up the road from them. DRS now available. Grosjean, who also pit at the same time as us, has gone on to ultra soft tyres. So he's committed himself to a two-stop strategy this afternoon. Is he going to try and make a move into the chicane? No, he is not. But Stroll trying to go around the outside of Massa. That means they fight ridiculously hard. Massa pushed out wide. Magnussen fancies a run at him. We've still got Grosjean to contend with up behind us if he's going to try anything into the next corner. But the Williams and the Haas fighting quite hard. Will anything happen through this next corner? No. Massa pushes Magnussen wide. He doesn't get the run. Now we're going to sit in the slipstream of Felipe Massa down the inside. Have to brake really hard though, as so we couldn't roll through the corner and carry on our move on Magnussen. Massa still there on our outside. Can he do anything into the next right-hander? No. We're through on the Williams. Up into 10th in the points-paying positions. And now Magnussen up behind Stroll. We're trying to stick with them. Grosjean as well has followed us through. So it's really, I'm trying to be pulled along by one Haas, and the other one's trying to be pulled along by myself. But now Grosjean looking to make a move. Carries it round the outside. Look at the speed he's got in that Ferrari-powered car. Through to turn 1. Can we go back down the inside? Grosjean hesitant. Left the door open for me. We're going to take that. Stay in 10th. And now Magnussen has gone up the field. He's put Stroll between me and him, and we need to stay behind him because Magnussen's on super soft tyres at this point, so he's going to come back at us later on in the Grand Prix on ultra softs. But bear in mind, we are not pitting again. Kevin Magnussen has a pit stop left to make. Lap 10 now. We are on the back straight. DRS wide open. Stroll is up the road from us, but you can see he's struggling for pace at this exact moment in time. The closing speed is insane down the inside of the Williams. That was, looking back at it, a bit audacious, but it's like I've said, we need to stick with Kevin Magnussen. I get the feeling if we let him get away from us, it's going to come back to bite us later on in the Grand Prix. So, lap 12 now. A lot of the top guys have made their first pit stop and are now behind me. Magnussen carrying on the super soft tyres, but he is now starting to struggle a little bit. He's been going slower these past couple of laps. Here we go. Back straight in the slipstream. DRS open on the Ferrari car. You can see Grosjean's also dropped off the back of us as well. So this is with us without prejudice down the inside for position. Magnussen make it so he can't turn in. He gets the inside line, squeezes himself too tightly. Little bit of contact between wheels just there, but no, we are now up into third place. And realistically, you could also say a net first because the cars ahead, I believe, still have to make pit stops. Well, I mean, Magnussen's on ultra soft, so he'd have to make another one if he had already pit and changed those. So we now come through to the end of lap 12, and yes, you can see based upon the closing speed, Verstappen and Raikkonen in the pits. That is us up into first place. Hamilton, unfortunately, though, sets the fastest lap behind us on a 38.4, so he's not very far behind. So we're now sort of going to be looking in our mirrors to see when they catch us. And come lap 15, that is exactly what has happened. We have now, our tyres are starting to wear down. So we're starting to lose a bit of grip through the fast corners. Hamilton has caught up behind us. And then behind him, we have the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel. And now it's about a game of, realistically, how long can we keep these guys behind us? They're in a completely different class to us. But we're here. We're not pitting again. Neither are these guys. We need to keep them behind as long as we can. Hamilton makes the move across. Can we hold it round the outside? It's going to be audacious down the inside. Hamilton doesn't turn in. Bit of contact as well with the side pod. And then we force him out. I wasn't really paying attention there, to be 100% honest. But we force him out, and Vettel has now joined the party. So Vettel has closed up any gap due to Hamilton and I squabbling as we come to end lap 15 and get into the second half of this race, where it's all going to be about track position and scrapping away with the other cars as we come out the final corner. That we lost a second and a half to our personal best, as Hamilton now is going to look to make a move. We go on board with Sebastian Vettel for this one here. Bit of a different camera angle. We squeeze Hamilton to the right, but he's got the DRS. Vettel missed sights, just hits me from behind. You saw Michael lurch forward, go off track. We've had to cut the corner, and Vettel and Hamilton have got past us, but Vettel took damage in that, where he misjudged his braking behind us. He lost a chunk of his front wing. We, of course, had to cut the corner, so even if I had sort of kept the position, I'd have probably been asked to give it back, even though realistically it wasn't my fault. And then Vettel and Hamilton were both ahead of me. They just, drove off into the distance, as you'd expect, because they're so much faster. And we now have to look at defending from Kimi Raikkonen and the other Ferrari of Valtteri Bottas. And now we dealt with one pair of a Ferrari and a Mercedes. Now we've got to deal with another pair as we come to lap 19. Through the middle of the cars, Bottas on the inside, Raikkonen on the outside. And we keep the position. We keep third place. As, wow, that was just almost... That was almost Schumacher and Hakkinen around Zonta at Spa 2000, but that was all three of us worth for position. But Raikkonen's not done yet. The next lap aggressively barges me out of the way due to clearly probably either what I did at the start of the race or what I did in the lap just gone. So we're going to have none of that. Aggressively down the inside and the main overtaking point of the circuit, and that's Raikkonen back down into fourth. Bottas didn't get the run that time around, but we make a mistake coming into the second sector on the exact same lap, and Raikkonen gets a much better run down the inside. Can he take us through the fast right-hander? He's squeezed on the inside. We have to go out. Raikkonen ahead of us now. Can we look to stick with him, or will we go? No, Raikkonen makes a mistake and goes too wide. Misses the apex completely, and we've then got back through, but that means that Raikkonen is going to have DRS on the back straight. He's going to be the one in prime overtaking opportunity into this next chicane. DRS is open. We've got Bottas, and I believe that's a Force India back there that's going to try and make a move on us. So Raikkonen goes ahead again, aggressively just comes across. We're using all of our rich mix. Of course, Jeff trying to tell us to save fuel, but that can't happen. We need to do what Bottas was having to do in the real-life Russian Grand Prix and have the engine almost on quali mode to defend from the Ferraris. And apparently we've now got some front wing damage. I can't see it aesthetically, but we're being told by Jeff we have front wing damage as Raikkonen again tries to pass us. He locks up. I carried a bit too much speed into turn one, I must admit, but Raikkonen went wide, and that's now going to allow, of all people, Carlos Sainz up into fourth place. Remember, Carlos Sainz pitted the same lap as us under the safety car, and it's now coming back. Where he has the soft tyres, he's now come back into contention, because while my tyres have been wearing out, I've been going slower and slower. His have now got more life, and now on lap 23, Carlos Sainz challenges us into turn one for a podium position at the Russian Grand Prix. We don't allow him to turn in, and that means that Raikkonen is going to be able to get his position back, and come lap 24, that's exactly what's happened. We're again on the back straight. We've broken away from a couple of the cars, but we have Kimi Raikkonen and the Red Bull of Daniel Ricciardo now challenging us. Raikkonen goes past. Can we look to maybe make another move into the chicane? He leaves the door open, doesn't defend whatsoever. Kimi, what are you doing? Though we've left a lot of room on the exit, Raikkonen wasn't able to get the power down, though. I think finally his tyres are getting to that point where he doesn't have that much of a traction advantage over me. But I think Danny Rick is on the freshest tyres of us all here. Sainz still in contention. Bottas is still in the mix just here as we now come to the end of lap 24. Only 3 laps are going to remain in the Russian Grand Prix. As we come out the final corner, you see we're now down in the high 42s. Vettel in the pits. We're up into second place. So this now became, instead of just fighting for the podium, this is a fight to be on the second step of it, as Raikkonen once again comes past us aggressively. Rich mix. We follow as much slipstream as we can from the Ferrari aggressively once again down the inside. Just we've had the crowd in the seats at that corner have been in for a treat this whole Grand Prix, because every single lap I've had to be concerned with what's going on. Lap 26, we've now got Stroll ahead of us getting blue flags. Raikkonen, again, he's not got as far ahead as he normally does. We've got DRS thanks to the Williams just ahead of us, so we're able to defend a lot more easily into this corner. Stroll just nopes completely out of the way. Just either we scared him off the road or he locked up both of his front wheels and he went straight on. But that's going to sort me right out. Raikkonen, though, trying to hold it round turn 4. We squeeze him as much as we can. That allows Ricciardo to sweep through. On the outside, contact made with the Ferrari. Raikkonen just keeps it in check, as we now have... Everyone is now caught up to the back of the Ferrari of Raikkonen. Wow. Let's get another look at that. We were clearly the car ahead. Raikkonen had no business sticking the nose of his car down there. He's lucky to have not got any damage off of that. It looks as if he has got damage. That looks more like it was from maybe turn 1, lap 1. But he was lucky to not get any of it, more of his front wing just destroyed there. Lewis Hamilton has won the Grand Prix by a country mile. But we are not done yet. We still have to race Kimi Raikkonen to the flag, who now once again goes past us for second place, but again leaves the door open, going through into the chicane, and we're now ahead. He's got no opportunities left to overtake us. We keep it on Rich Mix, coming through the final chicane, keeping the car nice and settled, not wrestling it too hard. That's that done. Now we move through to take the next two 90-degree right-handers, and then we're going to be bringing the car home. We've done 23 laps on a set of soft tyres, and that's us for our second podium of this career mode, and it's second place at the Russian Grand Prix.
And here are our podium drivers today after that excellent race. They've excelled here, as they so often do, and it's a well-deserved victory. Mercedes there are on top today.
What a Grand Prix. What a Russian Grand Prix. Look at the best lap time. I don't deserve to be where I was. But Lewis Hamilton won the Grand Prix by 45 seconds from ourselves. Then we defended to the flag from Kimi Raikkonen, Daniel Ricciardo. Valtteri Bottas came home in 5th. Romain Grosjean, that 2-stop paid off, coming home 6th in the end. Sainz 7th, Magnussen 8th. So both Haas drivers getting a good result. Jolyon Palmer picking up points, and Sebastian Vettel finishing down in 10th place. Verstappen had a mechanical issue near the end of the race, so coming home in 11th, and Alonso down in 13th in the end. A lot of drivers with penalties at the end of the race, and a double DNF for Force India as well, so they had a pretty torrid weekend. So I don't know what happened near the rear of the field, but that puts us 5th in the championship with 42 points. We are 13 points off the back of Valtteri Bottas, but if we can consolidate 5th behind the Ferrari and the Mercedes drivers, that's a pretty good place to be. As McLaren as well, we put ourselves 3rd in the constructors. Again, going to try and stay ahead of Red Bull. The two teams ahead of me might as well be long gone. I don't expect us to be fighting them at any point this season. I mean, who knows at the end of the Grand Prix, but it depends on how fast they upgrade as well. We, of course, have the Major and the Ultimate engine upgrades that are hopefully going to be coming to the car this season. And then we'll see what happens with the chassis and the aero updates after that. But that has been the Russian Grand Prix. This was a big scrappy race. You know, you saw a lot of argy-bargy, a lot of, tactical defending, a lot of, just last-minute dives. That one against Stroll, probably a little bit audacious, but the ones against, like, Kimi, especially in the dying laps, are the ones you have to take to get those extra points, because you never know. Those 3 points, that difference between 2nd and 3rd at the end of the season could be huge. Just huge. But that has been the Russian Grand Prix. Like I said, leave a like if you did enjoy and comment any feedback down below. Next up is Spain. If you remember last season, Spain is where we got our very first point. So I'm confident going into that one, we can get another good result. But again, just second place blew my mind. And I feel as if the strategy we did, pitting that early under the safety car, definitely contributed to that. And I will see you guys next time for the Spanish Grand Prix.